Hello and welcome to this installation guide of HRSale version 3.0.1. I was tasked with installing this HR system and had some problems with it, so I thought I would make a guide. And the version I got, as I said, was 3.0.1. And if you go to their website and the update log, you can here see that the version they are currently writing about here, the newest one, is 2.0.1. So I have no clue why this is. The logo is the same, so yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I have created a domain name for this and connected the DNS to a new server that is running Ubuntu 22.04. So let's connect to it and start installing. First do a normal update. Okay, now that's updated. I'm gonna change the font a bit. Okay, now we're updated. Let's do a reboot. Now we should do some default security settings. First, we want to change the port, since the default port is getting scanned a lot. I'm just going to change this to 2222 instead of using the normal 22. Also adding protocol 2 for some more security. Changing so the root cannot log in. And just because I'm gonna change the authentication tries from 6 to 5. Saving that one, exiting, restarting the SSH server to make the settings come alive. And now we're gonna do some firewall configuration as well. Adding the new port, so instead of the 22 we're going to do with 2222, allowing HTTP, HTTPS and some other stuff from incoming and outgoing traffic. And finally we enable what we just did. We then disable the usage of root. Set some time zone settings so that will look better, and using a character type that better matches my settings. And now we're gonna go into installing MariaDB. We just used the default one that's included in the repo from the Ubuntu 22.04. Securing the MariaDB installation. Now we need to create a database for HRSale and a database user. I'm just gonna give it user HRSale and password test to test with. Creating the actual HRSale database. Giving privileges for the HRSale user to the HRSale table. Flushing the privileges. Quitting. And this is a bit of a security thing to actually remove the history, what you just did, so nobody can read the password you set by checking the MySQL history. Next we're going to be installing Apache 2. Then moving on to PHP 8.0. I tried with PHP 8.1 and that failed to work, so it seems like you need to use 8.0 for it to work. Do an update. And then install the required libraries for PHP to get HRSale to work. This was a bit of trial and error for me to get this to work by using these ones. It's not exactly the same that's written in the documentation. Now that's installed. To get the email part of HRSale to work, in other words, the system is able to send out emails, it's dependent on a library called NetSMTP. So this is what you need to do to install that. Now we're gonna enable some modules for Apache 2. We're gonna disable the default site for Apache. Gonna change some settings in PHP ini. Now restarting everything to get it to work. Now we can have a look at if Apache 2 is actually listening on the IP address by just going to the IP address, and yeah, this works as obviously stated. Now we're gonna configure Apache for HRSale. I'm gonna use domain name hrsale.annex.se. These are some default settings and some added stuff for some extra security. So let's go ahead and save that one. And then we're gonna enable the new site. Now we can try to access the server from the domain name. Important here is to use HTTP and not HTTPS, because we haven't set that on up correctly yet. So now we get this, and that proves that it's connected to the server. Now we're gonna install a SSL certificate for the domain we added for the website. Here I'm using register unsafe without email, just because this is a test server, so you should probably not be using that one. That went perfectly, so now we should check that the certificate bot is running as it should, and this is activated, so that's okay. Now let's have a look at the configuration for the SSL certificate. I'm gonna add some extra security things here, just to increase the security. I'm not gonna go into exactly what these does, but you can skip it or you can do the same. So save that one and exit. And reload the configuration. Now we can try the website again with HTTPS, see how that goes. And it looks good. We still don't have any files, but we can see that the certificate is working. So now we can upload the HRSale files to the server, and to give access to the FTP program I'm gonna change the owner of the folder where I want it. And this is the file locally on my computer. Quick connect with the settings we have. Go to the correct folder and upload the files. And now we have the files in the folder, so we can change back to root owner of the folder. Now we need to make some folders writable. So we set the owner of these folders to www.data. If this is not done, then HRSale will have some problems later on. Now when this is done, we need to go into the app config for HRSale, and we need to change the base URL to the actual domain we're using. So in my case it will be this. Save that one, exit. And we also need to give some permissions to the database files, and values will be written to this file during the installation. Now we should be able to access the web installer by going to the domain/installations, and this should pop up. So just start installing process. Now we just fill in the values that we provided before when we created the database. I made a minor mistake there and called it HRSales and not sale. So I need to put HRSales here. And then the installation was successful. So we can just provide some additional information here. Password too short. Now, as suggested, we should remove the installation folder like that, and then we can go to the login page and try out our login. And we have successfully installed HRSale. Now that HRSale is installed, there's still some problems with adding employees. If you go to employees and then add new one, you can see these fields here that some of them are required. Most of them isn't a problem, but here you can see office shift. There is nothing here, so you can't create a new employee without creating office shift first. Same thing with role, and also department and designation. So you must create this first to be able to create a new user. And it is also some other problems when you can actually add those and then create the new user. So let's start with creating these necessary fields. We can do the department first. We will leave the department head here now because we don't have any users where we can add there, so we have to go back later and add that. Let's add a designation now when we have an apartment. And let's go back to employees and add some roles as well, or a role. And then we create a shift and some scheduling. And save that one. Now we can go back and try to create an employee. Select our test values. And also notice that the profile picture is needed. It's not optional. So I have selected a picture now, but it's not visible what I selected. And now we try to save this new user. Need a longer username. Try again. And this problem happens. And you don't see any user. This problem happens because there is a table in the database, the CI-ERP user table, which gets the country field set to 0 when creating a new user. And there's also a country table in the database, but that table doesn't have an entry with an ID of 0. So somewhere there's probably a join, SQL join. And when that's done, it doesn't return the user we created because the country 0 doesn't exist. We can fix this problem by adding a country to the database with ID 0. So now that I added this fix to the database, we can reload this employee list and the user I created pops up. Now if we try to look at more info about this user, view the details, this happens. We get another error. This error is because the department we created before need to have a department head, but we couldn't create any users before. So we can try and go back and go to department, and we can edit the department we created before and put the new user as the department head and update. Now if we go back to employees and click on the newly created employee, everything works. This should now be a fully functional installation of HRSale, except for the system sending out emails. We need to do some more configuration for that. First thing to do is install SendMail. Now that SendMail is installed, we need to edit the email configuration in HRSale, and that's this file. And when we go in here, we need to add some values. The first one is host. I haven't an account set up for this, but if I had a user and an account, it would look something like this. This is the email address the mail would be sent from, and this would of course be the email server. And then you would have the password for the email account, the SMT port, depending on what kind of encryption you're running, or crypto as they like to call it here. These are the basic settings that you need to change to get email working, so HRSale can send out emails to like new users and things like that. So this was everything. Now we should have a complete installation of HRSale that works. I have seen that there is a newer version 3.0.2. I don't know if they fixed any of these problems in it. I haven't used it or gotten hold of it. So good luck with using your newly installed HRSale.